day you die! Bomb you! Bomb you! Bomb you! Bomb you! I'll move out of Colorado, you.
No, I'm not. Those people are causing the situation. Stop telling me.
There will always be niche micro celebrities with ups and downs, especially in the TikTok world. You know, you have a lot of YouTubers that get into controversy. Sometimes they fall off, but TikTok supercharges that to the point that I swear, like, there's like 5 people a day that become famous, and then 3 of them basically have some kind of like serious allegation, or they end up becoming like drug addicts. Now, I have spent a long time documenting World of T-shirts. Joshua Block, if you don't know, he's the guy that runs around New York, and he used to do a tour service, basically showing you all the hot spots. But now, basically, if you go on one of his tours, you are just funding his alcohol addiction.
I'm with my brother and I on the World of T-shirts East Village and Brooklyn tour. First, we got some pizza before we met up with Josh. There he is. Then we walked to McSorley's, and he got us each at McSorley's 2 beers. Then we took the subway to Brooklyn. At the second bar, he got us each a Bud Light.
And to say this guy is an alcoholic is an understatement. Like I've said multiple videos in the past, there are accounts that literally track how much he drinks, how much he's spending, how many calories he's intaking, and what his blood alcohol level is. And it is usually hitting the serious to life-threatening levels pretty much every single day because he's always chasing that hangover. But by studying World of T-shirts Joshua Block so much, there's a parallel to him that I actually haven't looked into, even though these situations are somewhat similar, and that is Daniel Larson. Because if you know who Joshua Block is, you 100% have at least heard of the name Daniel Larson. It's like a nightmare that mothers tell their children to make sure that they get their good night's sleep. When I was a kid, I was always scared of monsters being in my closet, but now as a fully grown adult, I'm scared of Daniel Larson breaking into my bedroom. Now, Daniel is an enigma because he is someone that has even actually collaborated and appeared in videos with World of T-shirts.
New York, concrete jungle where dreams are made of.
I made it happen.
Now you're in New York.
Now, Daniel is a self-made musician and a content creator, and he gained a following, like many people do nowadays, mostly on TikTok. Now, he mostly became famous by doing like these kind of like daily vlogs and like rage-induced tantrums.
Till the day you die! Bomb you! Bomb you! Bomb you! Bomb you! Call the feds on me, you liar!
Now, if you go into Daniel Larson on Spotify, you'll see that he is actually a verified artist, and he gets around 15,000 monthly listeners. So, you know, you can't hate. He probably is doing better in the Spotify game than most people watching this video. Now, I have listened to some of these fat beats that he's made, and I'll be honest, it could be worse. It really could be worse. It kind of does give off that kind of like teenage Christian girl at Bible camp energy. He also has a song on his Spotify called CP Lover. I'm just gonna try to be devil's advocate and just hope he's saying COD points. So that is the kind of character Daniel Larson is. He's quite, you know, eccentric, and that's why a lot of people draw parallels to him and Joshua Block. But in the case of Daniel Larson, he isn't a raging alcoholic like World of T-shirts. World of T-shirts is basically stuck in this perpetual loop of always chasing a hangover, basically getting blackout drunk, and then filming TikToks of like, when he can't be asked to go home because he's so drunk, he'll just stay in like a hotel or something and just do a bunch of like music videos in there. Now, in the case of World of T-shirts, like I said, he's someone that drinks alcohol a lot. Daniel Larson does like occasionally drink beer and stuff, and he has been drunk in some videos, but this isn't the case as the same with Josh. If Josh was able to break that cycle of alcoholism, he might be on the road to recovery. But with Daniel Larson, the reason why it's so much harder to talk about is because he is incredibly mentally ill. But because he's so frequently homeless, when he gets prescriptions, he usually never goes around and like fills them up again.
Hello everyone, this is Daniel Larson. I'm already basically living in a hotel, living in a casino, basically living off of family currently. Family can no longer pay. We are taking money out of, well, my family's taking money out of their retirement now.
Like I said, he's been homeless a few times. There was a toothbrush incident, which is the only thing I'm going to refer to, the toothbrush incident. I can't even show this on screen because, you know, TLDR, it was him shoving a toothbrush up his butthole. And then afterwards, using said toothbrush to brush his teeth. Did you link the toothbrush incident? What the fuck? Now, unlike Josh, Daniel is also someone that has seen the inside of a jail a few times. I mean, with Josh, like, he might get stopped by police. He'll get filmed. He was in hospital the other day because of just chronic alcohol abuse. But for the most part, he doesn't really ever seem to get into any trouble with the law. It's mostly his just own community that are like watching over him. But Daniel is the opposite. He has had many run-ins with the law. Now, I would like to look into the jail arc Act 1. So Daniel was arrested a couple of times over the course of a few days. And usually when that happens, when you're arrested multiple times, you become a bit of a regular. You know, the law that responds in the area, they know who you are. And he's been through the ringer quite a lot, like serving back to back incredibly short jail times. Now, on February the 3rd, 2024, Daniel was basically arrested due to evasion of justice, which basically is just big boy words for he missed several court dates, which led to his arrest. And like anyone on TikTok that wants a little bit more clout, while all of this was happening and while police were trying to find him and arrest him, he was live streaming all of it. So he's being followed by cop cars who I assume were trying to like ID him as the right guy to arrest because they don't want to make the wrong arrest on some random stranger. And obviously him knowing that there was a warrant out for his arrest, the live stream itself, the aura was definitely a little bit paranoid. And he kept saying over and over that he needed to talk to Clark, who was apparently his manager at the time.
I might have to go on lockdown. I don't know what the fuck that car was doing. I might have to go and call Clark.
Now, before the arrest was made, Larson had a fugitive warrant out for his arrest. And when the arrest was made, his bond was placed at $20,000. And then they lowered it from about $20,000 to about $500, which I assume was how many gifts he got on the live stream that day. Because for someone like Daniel, acquiring $20,000 is basically next to impossible. I think one thing I do want to point out as well while covering this whole situation, because I'm kind of new to the whole Daniel Larson thing. I just get told a lot in chat to look into him because obviously I look into World of T-shirts so much. World of T-shirts, like I've said multiple times, is an alcoholic. He drinks insane amounts every day, you know, spirits, shots, all that kind of stuff. And it is surprising how Daniel is so much more unhinged and erratic and unstable than Josh is, despite basically usually being completely sober. It really is just an issue he has with mental illness. You're probably wondering, why was he, you know, why was there a warrant out for his arrest? What did he do? Did he troll a bit too much? Well, apparently he was actually previously kicked out of a hospital for making threats that he would shoot it up. There was even released body cam footage that came out basically a few days later. And one thing I do want to point out about the clip you're about to see as well is when he gets arrested, he doesn't have a complete mental breakdown. He doesn't start making threats. He speaks the thing is that's weird about Daniel, he can be very intelligent. Like the way he articulates himself, the way he presents himself, he isn't just an unhinged maniac. When his mindset is in the right place, he can almost speak like a Saul Goodman lawyer trying to sell you a pitch.
I just have facet certs and
What kind of class? Okay.
Marketing, something like that, right? Marketing.
Oh, heck yeah, man.
Thanks for being cooperative, my man. I appreciate it.
I definitely think there's a community of people online that take like a lot of pity for Daniel Larson as well, because even though some of the stuff he's done is just deranged and unhinged, I've seen multiple compilations of him on TikTok, the same as World of T-shirts, of him when he was younger, when he was a kid, like at school, and how he's changed from being a kid into basically now, and how he's completely just fallen off the deep end.
Bomb you! Bomb you! Bomb you!
Now, he stayed in jail for around 3 weeks, and then he was released on the 1st of March. Now, you think he would have learned his lesson, because again, in the back of that cop car, he speaks very articulately, you know, talking about like his hotel, where his stuff's been stored. But towards the end of March, he was arrested again for the exact same charge. But this time, it was a little bit different. So he was arrested for basically, again, like avoiding justice, failure to appear in court, but apparently with the added charge of threatening to use an explosive. So instead of going to jail for basically almost a month, he got bailed out again with a bond for $1,000. And also on top of that as well, he had his prohibition reinstated. Now, he was technically living in a different state during this arrest. And that obviously doesn't help your case, because when you go across like county lines, the law can get very funny about that. You know, they can imply that you're basically trying to run away and stuff. And during a lot of the times when you have like an ongoing case, you're basically not allowed to travel anywhere outside of the state. And again, there's an image been released here with the police when they're going to arrest him. He seems to be very, you know, cordial, like he's, you know, doing what they're asking. I'm assuming it's not like they're trying to restrain him or anything. So Daniel is then released on March the 22nd, which was about, you know, 4 days after his arrest. Now, between his release, he actually had like basically a string of just complete mental breakdowns, including one on TikTok that was actually so bad that the mods on TikTok, not like his mods, but like actual TikTok staff basically stepped in and had to cut his live stream.
The FBI can go ahead and press legal charges on me I will just kill their ass. They're trying to...
So he gets arrested again, and then he's let go the day after. So again, you can see this cycle of him getting arrested for a very short amount of time. It could easily be a problem that doesn't keep reoccurring if he just went through the actual court system, but he doesn't want to. He keeps like kind of going on the run almost, or just not wanting to appear in court, which leads to these charges and bail bonds becoming worse, basically. And again, he's arrested for missing more court dates. And you can see like in between, like basically spending time inside jail or through the legal system, the way he lives day to day is very, very concerning. And all of this stuff I'm talking about, by the way, this is like a small page. Like okay, the Daniel Larson law book is about this big, right? Like we're talking Harry Potter, Order of the Phoenix. What I'm talking about today is about this much, but like if I wanted to do a deep dive video on this guy, it would be hours long. So I feel like all I can really do is talk about like kind of a condensed series of events just to explain to you how unhinged this guy is. Because all the stuff I'm talking about now basically happened this year between February and April. Now, as you could probably gather, the guy is a little bit extreme to the point of making loads and loads of threats to random people, and unsurprisingly making a threat that can be considered a crime. Like there's a video of him here and he's just like doing pure rage screaming, making loads of threats.
I sent a message to the fucking fans. You fucking don't listen to me, I will fucking kill you too.
I did show this clip earlier, but it just shows how like massive this meltdown is. Now, obviously by behaving like this and also being out in the public, you're kind of a bit of a target, and Daniel does seem to have a lot of people that kind of like interact with him just to kind of like mess with him. I remember seeing one clip all over my page for like months on end of like people flying drones around Daniel, basically just to get a reaction from him.
Okay, so I have a police report going out. The police are on their way to take a report, and I have the drone on camera.
Now, this meltdown that I shown seemed to like accumulate from a number of things. The one where he's like running around screaming, making threats, not the drone one. Apparently he'd be running away from Buffalo Wild Wings. So apparently some trolls of Daniel basically convinced him into believing that he had a job interview there. And this basically just caused like a whole whirlwind of issues. And it's really weird to see a more extreme version of World of T-Shirts, because World of T-Shirts, obviously he's around New York every day. People find him all the time, and usually they'll just like buy him a drink, or they'll give him like a zin or something, right? You know, so put a little upper decky. It's like they don't like harass him or anything. They just kind of like, you know, maybe content farm him a bit, buy him a drink, and then leave. I actually, by the way, with World of T-Shirts, I don't think I can find the video. I'll try to, but I saw this one video of like a random person that obviously knew who he was, and this person basically treated World of T-Shirts to like a Burger King meal, and that was just really nice because like you could see the guy just devouring it, because obviously he's probably so starved from like all the ghrelin in your brain that gets released when you're hungover. But seeing this person basically sat down with Daniel, just like treating him to a meal and no alcohol being involved, it was so nice to see. And now with the first jail arc out of the way, I would like to introduce the second jail arc. So this is basically like the most recently ongoing case, starting from April 30th. Now he would be arrested again, but this time facing even more serious charges because the FBI got involved. Now this is basically a case that apparently was stacked against him for a long time. At one point, Daniel would be met by a Secret Service agent named Daniel McDougall. And basically this guy said to Larson, you know, you've got to start making these threats because people can classify that as terrorism. And essentially, Daniel flat out refused to. And obviously, like I've said multiple times throughout this video, whenever Daniel has some kind of like mental breakdown, he makes numerous amounts of threats. He probably doesn't even mean it. I think he's just having a full psychotic break. But obviously, if you're making a threat and it's being broadcasted, people can save that, and then people can send that to the police and be like, this guy's making threats. He says he's going to like bomb a school or something. He threatened to bomb a hospital, and then he threatened the PS5 would release a game. Now, you would think in America, where basically 5% of the population is doing the fentfolds right now, why would they care about one random person, obviously mentally unwell, making random threats online? Well, it's mostly because in one of his streams, he threatened to bomb the White House, which is a big no-no. And obviously that opened the door to there then being a case open against Daniel Larson. I assume that they think the guy is just unhinged, he won't do anything. But again, it's like, if you get a threat like that, you don't know if that person is being serious or not. And even if they're, you know, not being serious, they might have a mental break and do something like that. Like a good example is around the world. I mean, this has happened in the UK. There's like, you know, acts of terrorism that happen within the country. And then usually 9 times out of 10, especially in the UK, it is revealed in the news that whoever perpetrated the attack was someone that was already on a watch list. They knew that this person was, you know, at least suspicious. And obviously, because of situations like that, the White House or Secret Service need to take this Daniel Larson stuff very seriously, because, you know, he says he's going to bomb the White House. Maybe he's doing a bit, maybe not. But if anything did happen, then it's like, okay, we knew this information. We didn't act on it. That makes us look really, really bad. So this investigation was more like an interrogation, and it was basically wrapped up after Clark, Daniel's apparent manager, and a bunch of other people in his management team were basically interviewed to see if any more threats have been made. And then officially, as of April 25th, there is another warrant out for Daniel's arrest. I'll be honest, out of all the content creators on TikTok, he must have had the most amount of arrest warrants that we're ever going to see in our lifetime. This guy has like 3 a week now. Now, originally people thought the warrant was for like violating parole, but apparently that wasn't the case at all. And then if you fast forward to April 29th, he abruptly became inactive on social media, which was really weird because much like what a t-shirts, he's someone that would post multiple times. The only trace left of him was a tweet basically saying that he was heading back to Boulder, Colorado. Now, with the collection of threats that are built against him, he could be seeing like a maximum sentence of 65 years in prison. And out of all the cases he's had against him, like resisting arrest, like avoiding arrest and stuff, like nothing has ever been as severe as the charges he has against him right now. Now, he was officially arrested on the 30th of April and classified as ineligible for bail. Now, truthfully, a lot of people are split on the fence here. Like, you've arrested someone very mentally ill, but at the same time, he was making threats that because of his, you know, the way his brain works, he might well have carried out. Now, while he was in jail, he did keep in contact with Clark, his manager, and everything was okay until the final phone call. Now, Daniel said he's basically very sorry and he knows that things are messed up. And there's a transcript that's been posted, and you can tell by, you know, just how short Clark is being that he's just kind of fed up with him. So you can see Clark here saying, that starts with me being honest too, and I regret even all the fake Graces and all that. Yeah, that wasn't right to do so for Grace too, because I don't know her in real life, and I know she was probably not happy with people pretending to be her for the past couple of years. So that does start with us too. But the way you took it was a little too far in some ways. And I mean, yeah, and I do think. And then Daniel interrupts and basically saying that he agrees. Clark goes, yeah. Daniel goes, you know, we've been in contact for so long now. You know what I mean? I want us to be friends. And then Clark basically says, I mean, you do understand everything I told you though in the last call. Like, all this has to be pretty much made up. I know it's for you to know, but you got to realize that before the trial, before they think you're crazy. And then Daniel said, yep, you know, I agree. And then Clark tries to speak again and Daniel cuts him off. And I do have to say, I do kind of know that as well. I do know what my public defender is going to ask tomorrow, but I don't know if they're going to approve it this time or the next court date. But I do know that we're making progress in the right direction. So then eventually fast forward a little bit and May the 10th rolled over. And this was Daniel's public defender because obviously he basically has like no money for anyone private. Obviously his defender basically just said, you know, asking for his release. And I'll be honest, like in any kind of case, if you have a public defender, you're kind of a little bit screwed anyway, unless the judge is very, very lenient, because the reason why public defenders are so bad is because lawyers that are public defenders, they are trained incredibly well. They are great people. I'm not slighting them in any way, but by being a public defender, you have so many cases that you're taking on simultaneously that you could not possibly, unless you're some kind of superhuman with 8 arms, manage every single case that's thrown at you and being able to give them all the appropriate amount of time. That's why lawyers, like private lawyers, are so expensive, because you're not really, I mean, most of the time you're not paying for their skill, you're paying for their time, because by getting past that wall and actually paying money to someone private, a private lawyer, then it's like, okay, you paid me money, now I can dedicate all my time to just you. Now, like I said, the public defender asked for a release. The judge basically quickly denied it, and Daniel in return also pleaded not guilty. And that apparently also led to the judge basically denying any kind of release. Now, Daniel has been a little bit incognito at the minute. Apparently, he's going to a mental health facility to get basically evaluated to see if he's even mentally competent to stand trial. And he's basically going to be staying there until the middle of September. I'm sure you've all seen the JCS video and how so many people that do like incredibly heinous crimes, they try to get off on like the insanity plea or like they're not competent for trial. But obviously that can also end up being a lot worse than just being actually sentenced.
This is 26-year-old Dawson McGee. In 3 seconds from now, he will hear the sound of the door being opened by a detective. You will see a remarkably noticeable switch in his demeanor.
I'm going to talk to you about what happened to your mom.
What happened to my mom?
Well, you tell me.
Now, I'm really not sure what's going to happen going ahead. He might do the insanity plea. He might also be charged with basically just not being competent to stand trial. I'm not actually sure what happens then. You know, I know the American system is shit, but I couldn't imagine that just because you're not competent, you're just free to leave. I imagine that you'd be, you know, forced to go to some kind of like mental health facility or something, which in some cases, especially if the healthcare system in the country is bad, can be a million times worse than going to jail. But yeah, that was like a little deep dive into the Daniel Larson stuff. I feel like I've kind of just picked like a random chapter in his life and talked about it. or the most recent series of events. If you like enjoyed me documenting this, like World of T-shirts, I could definitely look into more stuff that he's done as well. But yeah, like I said, if I wanted to do a deep dive on this video, it would be hours long, and I kind of just wanted to condense it a little bit. But the more I looked into it, I realized that there's a lot to cover. So I basically just picked what's happened over the past couple of months as opposed to his entire life story. But yeah, it's another situation like World of T-shirts. Like, obviously, you know, you look at these people and you go, haha, Lamau, he's mentally ill. That's le funny. But you do want these people to also kind of get better. I mean, like, best case scenario, Daniel Larson gets his life on track, and so does World of T-shirts. I mean, it's less lolcows to laugh at, but, you know, especially with Joshua Block, because that guy is just a mess. I could not stop drawing comparisons to him, like, while making this video.